This meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority will come to order. Rochelle, would you poll the authority, please? Take
Authority
roll.
Member Bradish.
Present.
Authority Member Gunia.
Here.
Authority Member Odell.
Here.
Authority Member Cole.
Here.
Authority Member Forrest. Authority Member Mather. Here.
Thank you. Next item of business is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item of business is approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, which was on December 14th. Any discussion regarding corrections or changes to the minutes? Everybody looks at Donovan.
No,
There being
corrections.
none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. The minutes are approved. Next item of business is number 6A.
There's actually two sets of minutes because your email poll now has to actually be a formal set of minutes. So when we did the email poll for this license, that's a second set of minutes that you should have in your packet.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
I'll make a motion that the email poll minutes be approved.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now,
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I'd like to make notice of two things. Number one is our new city attorney. Congratulations. And number two, we lost a member that served, and I appreciate, I'm sure the board appreciated her service, but that means we have a new voting member, if I understand right.
right. And I wanted to save this for later, but I would like to publicly thank Susan Price for her contribution to this authority and her pretty long tenure of service. She will be missed. Thank you, Earl. I'll try one more time for item 6A. The Chocolate Therapist Incorporated, doing business as the Chocolate Therapist, 2560 West Main Street, Suite 100. I assume someone's here to speak for. Please step forward.
And then before you take the applicant's presentation, I'll enter into the record Exhibit A, waiver of hearing and objections to process by which neighborhood boundaries and public hearing dates are set. Exhibit B, affidavit of posting of premises. Exhibit C, proof of publication. Exhibit D, liquor authority communication with attachments. Exhibit E, petition information. And Exhibit F, which the clerk will hand to you, that's the public hearing sign-in roster. And it does not appear as if anyone is signed in to speak.
I assume the city considers the application to be complete and all required documents in order?
That's right.
Thank you.
I did notice that on Exhibit A, the waiver, that the address was incorrect. Saying 2530, and I believe it's 2560.
Do you want to confirm your address?
I'm sorry, it's 2560.
Thank you.
I think we need to approve the exhibits. I'll make an motion. We approve exhibits A
Mr. Chairman, I
through
move
F.
that we accept the exhibits as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 No opposed? You may proceed. Please introduce
Exactly
yourself.
sure what I'm supposed to do, sorry. That we're, the chocolate therapist is applying for a beer and wine license
Why?
because we would like to be able to offer wine and beer with the chocolate, which is a very popular up-and-coming trend, and do flights, you know, like we come in, have a glass of wine, have a collection of our chocolate, which is handcrafted and made specifically for pairing with wine. So it's very good. You should come over.
Have you seen any studies or talked to anybody who has had both the chocolate and the wine together?
I haven't seen any studies, but I've participated in many events myself, and I've traveled all over the world and experienced this in many different vineyards, so it's a very up-and-coming trend, as it is with beer.
Do you also intend to sell beer, or is that just because that's the kind of license you get?
It's the kind of license, but we'll have beer and chocolate flights as well. That's kind of the goal, is to offer this new thing that's very popular in the area.
Do you want to explain, just for our benefit, what a typical customer experience is like, and then how that would change if you did get a liquor license?
Well, now we serve coffee and chocolate, which we handcraft on site. So if we have the beer and wine option, they would be able to come into the shop and order a beer, a glass of wine, and then we have some pre-selected chocolates that they would pair with those, or they could choose their own chocolates as well. So it just kind of adds like an entire new dimension to what we already do.
Do you serve any food other than chocolate?
We have nuts and muffins at this time, just kind of like a collection of little snacks. But when we get the liquor license, we will be increasing the number of snacks that we have.
What will your hours of operation be?
Right now, we're 8 a.m. till 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and we're open 9 to 7 on Saturdays and 11 to 7 on Sundays. And we're planning to just extend the hours on Friday and Saturday evenings till 9 o'clock at night. So it's not like going to be something where it's like another bar in Main Street. Really, it's just an extended hours to enjoy the alcohol that we have now.
It's my understanding you've been in operation for almost 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep, as the chocolate therapist, yes.
And you are the sole owner?
I am.
You were born in Seattle, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Then, did you live in Montana?
I did, yes.
Now, have you been in this location since 2005?
Well, it was Chocolates by Mary Carroll before I purchased
okay.
it, and I bought it in October of 2008. So we didn't actually change the name, though, till the following year,
Right.
and then renovated it, completely gutted it, and started over.
Are you going to make any changes to the interior of the building if you get the license?
I'm not doing anything that would require like any kind of a construction license. We're just going to be doing some different shelves and different tables, pretty much. That's it.
Will there be a bar area, or how will
Well, there already is a bar that we serve coffee over right now, but we're going to clear that and put a couple of stools there instead. So there would be like a place to sit right there at the bar if somebody chooses to do that.
Do you have a closet or a locker where the alcohol will be kept?
We have a storage area in the back where we do all of our storage and shipping now because we're in production for chocolate, so it'll be kept back there.
Well, and I'm assuming that has a lock on it.
It doesn't have a lock at this time. Does it need a lock? We're going to have surveillance on site. That's being added as well.
Okay.
One thing we like to know is how is the staff going to be trained to serve the alcohol?
Well, I already decided that every single person that orders alcohol will be carded regardless of their age. So they'll be trained, and whatever guidelines are put forth by the state will, of course, adhere to any of those guidelines as well. And if we have staff that is underage, they obviously wouldn't be able to serve the alcohol as well.
Do you have an estimate of how much your total revenue would increase by selling beer and wine?
Million? No. I have no idea. Like I said, it's a very popular trend right now, and we are one of the only companies that I know of that has the opportunity to do this because we're making this handcrafted chocolate on site. And to my knowledge, no one else has this idea or this concept that we're going forward with. So I would hope that we could kind of be a forerunner in this area. I'd hope to increase no less than $2,000 to $3,000 a month at the very minimum.
This is kind of like a real niche market.
It's very niche-y.
Wine and chocolate.
And even
beer
what
and
we
chocolate.
do with the chocolate, because it's all natural, and there's no preservatives, dyes, artificial ingredients of any kind. I'm very meticulous about what we put in our chocolate. So just that alone makes it different, and then adding, the pairings. And we thought we would try to go with local in Colorado products so that we're always supporting the community, which we already do with everything else that we do in the shop anyways. So whenever I can buy local, I do.
One of the reasons that I have stayed away is because I love chocolate, and I am a diabetic. But someone mentioned to me about a week ago they thought you had some sugar-free. Is that rumor true?
We do have limited sugar-free, but I wrote a book about the health benefits of chocolate, and I'm not a big advocate of sugar-free, even for diabetics, and I can tell you all about that later. I can come in and give you a nutrition consultation about how a diabetic should eat, but I do have a limited collection because some people are very, they've got to have that, so. And we have the best sugar-free chocolate you can buy.
All right.
And there are studies that prove that chocolate can be healthful for your heart also.
There are. That's the most popular study. I mean, I've studied it intensely for 7 years. Whew, it's been a lot of work.
I think there's studies that say that about wine, too.
It's
almost a health food store,
People will be
really.
more beautiful when they leave the shop than they were when they arrived.
How many customers can you have in your facility at a time?
12. I think that's our limit for having a single laboratory. So that's how, we have actually 11 chairs.
Okay.
So,
In the time that you've been in business in Littleton, have you ever had an opportunity to interface with the local police department?
yeah, we had, I guess, like a wayward homeless person come in and cause a lot of problems in our shop, and someone called the police, and apparently he was arrested shortly, 2 doors down. So I think that's the only time that they came. It was last year, and I don't recall exactly when. But he was just, the guy that pulls his moving suitcase, and he was coming and harassing all of my customers and yelling about the law, and so we called the police, and
Do
he
you
was taken care of.
have any underage employees?
I do. I have one girl who's 17, and of course she won't be able to serve the liquor, so we're kind of trying to figure out a way to work around that.
And-
Everybody else is 21 or older. Well, one girl is 20. She turns in August, but I think they can serve at 18, can't they? Yeah.
As long as they're supervised by someone who's over 21.
Yep.
Will you bring drinks or the wine to someone's table, or will they always go to the bar and pick it up?
They'll come up to the bar or, to our coffee area and pick it up and go themselves. I'm not going to have service staff.
So whoever's behind the bar can be totally in control of
That's right.
who gets served. Will you have a wide selection of wines, or?
Not really, because we don't have a large space to be able to accommodate that.
Good.
So my goal is to have kind of rotating wines, again, trying to stay with Colorado wines, although if there's a favorite that I have that I've tried, I'm probably going to bring that in. So it just depends on what chocolate we're featuring, because we'll switch out the wines according to the chocolate.
You submitted a diagram. There's only one door in and out of the place?
There's a front and a back.
Okay.
Is the back not represented?
Is the back door normally locked?
No, it isn't. It is after hours, or later in the night. If there's just one employee in, then we lock the back door for that employee, and then only the front is open. But during business hours through 5, it's open because we have deliveries.
Now, your intent is to store the wine right inside the back door.
You actually come in the back door, then you go around into the storage area. So it's not like right sitting there by the back door. It'll be in storage.
Is there always someone in the back of the store?
Well, there is during the production, because we have production in the back and then, the retail area in the front.
My concern is, how are you going to ensure that no one comes in the back door, takes the wine, and goes back out the back door?
Yeah, I can see that being an issue, and I'll certainly look at possibly locking it back there. I think that would be a good plan.
Is there normally, except for during production, just one person in the store?
No, there's always 2 or 3. I mean, the only time that there's one would be, say, from 5 to 7. When production is done, then we lock that back door, and the front person is in there closing the store.
Have you ever worked any place that served alcohol?
I have.
May I ask where?
The Elephant Bar up in Boulder and the Boulder Cork. I was cocktail waitress in my 20s, so, early 20s.
Did you have training at that time?
Yeah, we did. That was like a long time ago. Not sure I can remember what we did, but yeah, we did. But it was different because we were serving alcohol and delivering to the tables and the customers. It wasn't the case where they were coming to the bar and ordering something and then leaving with that particular drink to find a seat.
How will you ensure someone doesn't take a glass of wine and go out on the sidewalk and sit down? And
Well, I just, like every other venue that does that, where you're just going to have no alcohol beyond these premises posted right on the door, and make sure that people know that right there when they're purchasing, that they can't take it out of the facility.
If you stay open until 9 PM, you'll have at least 2 people in the store until that time?
Probably not. Like we close that back door, as I mentioned, at 5 after any deliveries would be, and then whoever's in the front will be the only person there. It doesn't really require, like the business, it doesn't warrant another person. If the wine and beer element really changes the business and it's much busier, then I would obviously accommodate that need by putting another person on the staff. But right now, it's, just a few people that filter in and out through 5 and 7, and so.
who has access to the keys to lock the doors and unlock
The
them?
employees. Any person that's employed. I have 5 employees, and myself, of course.
Including the 17-year-old?
Yes, because they all open and close the shop.
So the 17-year-old would have key access to the wine, potentially with no supervision.
It's, conceivable, because that person would be able to access, no, she wouldn't have the key. She would have no need to have that. I could see her having, she has the key to the shop, but if she doesn't have the key to the wine and the beer in the back, then she wouldn't have access.
If you put a lock on that, then she
Right,
wouldn't have that.
then that
Okay.
would, right, exactly. And as I mentioned, we'll have surveillance in there as well. So there will be a camera in every location. It's a very small shop, so there's going to be 4 cameras.
Or do you have surveillance now? So this is something that's going to
Yeah,
grow.
I already have the surveillance purchased, and I have the security guy lined up to help me put it in.
Do you plan to complete any training?
Me personally, I hadn't put that on my agenda.
Do you plan to train your employees?
Yeah, definitely. I'll go through the rules and the laws and abide by everything. I'm very adamant about that. And like I said, every person will be carded, and I don't care how old they are. I don't want to take a chance that somebody would gauge someone is a certain age and they're not. So,
You plan to do the training yourself,
I do.
and you've said that the last exposure you have is dated, so you may not be up to date on the current.
Right. But I'm not just going to be like, oh, I think this, I think that. I would absolutely read the guidelines for the specific training and train as the current law states.
I would be much more comfortable if someone had professional training, and then they could at least train. I'd actually prefer all of them to have professional training, but at least one.
Okay, I would comply with that for sure. I think it's a good idea.
What is a large number of customers to be in your establishment at one time?
Well, like when they close the streets for the lighting of the parade, it's not unusual for us to have 30 people in there. They're all standing in line for hot chocolate. But for the most part, we might see a little rush of 8 to 10 people at any given time.
Okay, so supervision of the people and what they're drinking is relatively simple.
Yeah, it's a
Place that
small
has-
space. Like you can see everyone when you're standing. You can see every single square inch of the store when you're standing at the counter.
I have to admit, I've been in there once or twice.
Good. Hopefully
Very
we get
good
some coffee.
chocolate.
Thank you.
But I've also observed that there are times currently with your configuration when the person is fixing a hot chocolate or a drink for somebody to where they have to get the milk out from under the counter and stuff. And they're not aware of what's going on in the store at that period of time.
That's possible.
So, and I don't know exactly how you plan to reconfigure it such that they would be.
Well, I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Because, like, when I think about a bar, the bartender doesn't have a look on every single person that's in the restaurant. So I'm not 100% certain why if someone bent over to grab some milk for less than 6 seconds, it would be imperative that they have an eye on every person in the shop.
It's not, but I'm back to concern to making sure no one takes the open wine outside.
Oh, well, I don't know. You've seen how small the shop is. I just really would have a hard time believing that that's an issue. And yeah, if someone walks out with it, we'll obviously have to say, I'm sorry, you can't leave the store with that.
Yeah, I would say in your normal operation, but when you have activities taking place downtown and you got a large group of people in there, I can easily see somebody just wandering back outside with their glass and.
Well, we'll obviously do everything in our power to keep that from happening, including the signage and the attentiveness of the employees, keeping an eye on people and understanding that, that's one of the laws, of course, in the city and everywhere, so.
Well, like you said, you're going to have to kind of gauge how your business changes. And so when there are special events, maybe it would be wise to have 2 people there to kind of, it gets busy. And like
Yeah,
you said,
I can see that.
people turn around. And
It's very interesting because it isn't something that I've experienced yet. So sometimes you just have to go through it and see what happens. I mean, I certainly plan on being there a lot more at the beginning so that I can see what's going on, so that I can adjust accordingly.
Right.
So,
Should we hear from the petition? Should we hear a presentation on the petitions?
Are there any further questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Let's give a listen to the petitioner.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you need me to review our procedures, or have I been there recently enough? I would be glad to. Do you need me to go over how we?
Please.
Okay. Meet at the location or somewhere nearby in this case, and go past it to see what the area looks like. We have the map, the warning page that has the date of the hearing, the type of license. We have the signature pages, yes, no, or no opinion. And we have our data sheets, which we not only mark every address that we stop at, but also the responses and any other additional comments that are made. Those are then summarized. And in this case, we did 586 door knocks, of which 176 people signed the petition. 29 declined to sign, and 29 were ineligible. There were 369 who did not answer the door knock. We had 143 residents and 32 business owners or managers for 175 or 99.4% in support of the license. We had 1 resident in opposition for 0.06%. The reason that that person stated for signing in opposition was that they do not drink alcohol. So really, the results analyzed purely on the needs and desires is 175 or 100% in favor of the license.
If I may, I would ask you to turn to page 5, which was the first survey that was done.
I don't have a page 5 on ours.
Well, the 5th page in.
I only have 3 pages of
Second
ours.
page after 3, it's a map.
No,
Oh.
no, it's this.
That's not something I'm familiar with. That's not our.
If you may, you can look at mine.
Was that the petitions? Okay.
The signature page?
It's the signature page.
Copy of those. Oh, excuse me. Okay. What was your question?
I
Thank you.
believe that signature page, page 1 of 3,
Okay.
shows that there was a person opposed.
Yes.
And if I turn the page to page 2 of 3, I believe there's also a person opposed.
Oh, okay. Let me see what their response were. I'm sorry how we missed that, but that's easy to find. Somebody didn't put the right check mark in the log sheet apparently or something, but all the numbers added up to totals. Let me double check real quick here. This is, I have all the sheets with me. The one on page 1. 5521, okay, that was no drink, and I can show you these if you want me to bring it forward so you can see how we do our,
But that was the person that opposed.
that was the first one.
Okay.
Let me double check the second one. I'm sorry that slipped. 2 of 3. Okay. 5548. sorry, I'm trying to. Street. Did inadvertently mark it for the petition. So I can't tell you what the reason was. I can show you what.
So we do have two of them that were opposed.
There were two opposition.
We don't need to see that.
Let me show you what we work with so you know when you go to the door. This is the column if they sign against it. And this means no drink. This would mean that there's too many. This is traffic, and then if there's anything else like they're concerned about kids or noise or, different things apply for different licenses. So this particular petitioner who has been doing this for almost 20 years, maybe what I think is probably his first or second mistake, but the 55, where did I find it now? I can't read upside down, I'm sorry.
It was 5548 South Hill Street, number 104.
But that's fine, ma'am.
Okay.
The point is,
That's fine. The point,
He had marked it for, so I don't know. So in the final results, we have one in opposition because the no drink that is marked clearly no drink would not be counted in the final needs and as a need or desires, because we always subtract anything out other than the too many.
would you please step back to microphones? Okay, the first one, the one at 5521 South Nevada, where it is marked opposed.
Yes, that one was clearly marked that they were non-drinkers.
That was clearly marked as non-drinkers,
Yes.
and that was one that opposed.
Yes, and that's the one that we subtracted out from the 176 to make it 175.
Next one at 5548 that is marked opposed on our documents.
Okay, and like I say, he mismarked that on the data sheet, and so I missed that when we summarize, as long as we have all the numbers, and we very rarely have one marked that's a yes that was a no.
So we actually have two people that were opposed.
Two people that were opposed, but only one would actually count in the final because we don't know what their opposition was. It could have been too many rather than a no drink. Like I say, when we do the final analysis on needs and desires, any other things like no drinking, the traffic, they just don't like the location. I mean, any other things other than too many would be subtracted out. But since we don't know about that one, you'd have back to about less than 1% again.
Since we don't know about it, I will assume that they were opposed,
That's fine.
which would mean we would have two opposed, but
But in the final analysis, you'd have one opposed because then the non-drinker is subtracted out. The state says you're proving needs and desires. And so that's why we do what we do on that. On your letter D, that's the needs and desires only.
Right, so
that's
the idea being that if you don't drink alcohol, you are not in a position to assess the needs
correct.
and desires.
Right,
of those.
because there are times that we do petitions, and this is just we get some off-the-wall comments. I don't like the owner, I don't want the business there, and we're not doing that. We're only doing the liquor license. So we can't stop, say, a 7-Eleven from being there. We're only involved in so if you get a comment that, I don't like 7-Eleven or I don't like the owner because, he's always, the service is bad or something of that sort, that isn't something that we take into effect with.
They never saw me the winning lottery ticket.
Right, yeah. I mean, after doing this for as many years as I have, believe me, if I had the tendency of being a stand-up comic or writing a book, I've been through just about all of it. Most people were nice, but we do have some off-the-wall comments from time to time. Any other questions? I'm sorry. I didn't know any.
one of the things I noticed is all of the, as far as I can tell, all of the existing liquor outlets on Main Street have supported you by signing the petition in support.
Yes. I go straight down. I don't do any hopping around when I do something of this sort. What we normally do with the businesses and the residents is start the location and radius out. And if we have, 4 quadrants, in this case we do. So we try to get a representative area, north, south, east, west. There's not much south right in town here, but we do make an attempt at that. And then across Santa Fe and the condos and things over there. And then, of course, the residents north of here, up in this general area, and of course then across the bridge. As I always tell people, you go across the bridge. But we try to get, and with the businesses, I basically do, the closest, most effective neighborhood and go out as far as we feel necessary. We usually try to get, an average of 35 to 45 business signatures in an area that has enough businesses like this. But just work right up and down the street. Don't.
Have any other questions?
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Any discussion from the authority before we call for a motion?
I'm still a little concerned about no one having formal training. I think we ought to consider making it contingent upon at least one person getting formal training and then training the other people. A minimum of one getting some sort of formal certification training. There are enough changes in the current liquor licenses, laws, restrictions, and regulations, plus the nuances of Littleton itself, that I think there needs to be some training.
Anyone else?
I have to agree with that. I think that's a good idea.
I don't have an objection to that. My problem is I see this as a very unique liquor outlet that is going to serve very little liquor, relatively low alcohol content liquor. I understand that it's important that they follow the liquor laws just like every other establishment, but I don't think there's going to be a situation where they're tempted to serve intoxicated people or even have an opportunity to serve intoxicated people. I won't have an objection to your idea of requiring at least one person to have formal training, but I don't feel strongly that it's necessary.
I would agree that it's a good idea. I'm just wondering, is it Ms. Peck? Is that you? Would you be willing to commit to us that you or a person on your staff? Yeah, do you want to come on up to the microphone? Yeah. So the people who are listening.
I would do that. I mean, is there a place that you would require, or is it just like a class?
There's a class called TIPS, and I'm assuming that the staff could provide.
Yeah, I bet Rochelle has that information.
Rochelle has.
The state liquor enforcement, it does take the position that we can't do that unless there's a violation, make it mandatory, but you certainly, if you will agree to it, that would be something we could put.
So my question would just be, and I do think it would be a good idea. I think it would be beneficial.
Is it something that's like a big cost involved, or it's just like a basic class? It's not like a $500 8-month class or anything?
No, it's relatively simple and inexpensive, but to get up on the current.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a good idea, personally.
And
It's my business. I don't want to break any laws.
But if I understand the city attorney correctly, we cannot make that a stipulation?
It can't be a mandatory condition unless there's been some violation, but if you will agree to do it, then you can make it a condition that way, just on voluntary commitment to doing that. And I think we can probably provide you some different options for training. TIPS is the one that's normally recommended, but I think Rochelle can probably help you find some training.
Okay, I mean, if it'd be ideal for me to do whatever makes the most sense for our business.
I
think
think
it
it would be a benefit to you, really, to see if there's been some changes and maybe bring some things to your awareness that, we don't necessarily think of, and maybe not come back here with any violations.
All right?
That's
I mean, I would agree to do that, absolutely.
Thank you.
The other concern that I have is the unlocked door. 1,000 years ago, I managed a general nutrition center, and when I was back in Pittsburgh, in the mall, there are tunnels that run behind stores. And an employee had forgot to lock that door. Someone had come in and stolen all the money that was left on a bag back in the office. And I just know how quickly things can occur as far as theft is concerned. I'm a little concerned that the door is left unlocked and then that the alcohol is not secured. So it'd be my recommendation. You've already expressed that you think that it's probably a good idea to get a lock on that door so an occurrence like that would be avoided.
Well, we're saying a lock on the alcohol, right? I can't lock the back door during
No,
business
not the
hours.
back door. It's the alcohol itself that is in the office that needs to be where somebody can't be in and out. Because I see there's one instance where I was involved where it happened just really quick. So I know that kind of thing can and does happen.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of having the alcohol locked up anyways. I mean, I think that as a business owner, I personally would want that to happen. And
might
then also thinking, yeah, it's okay.
You might consider putting an alarm on the back door so you know if somebody comes in and out.
Yeah, we could do that. We have one on the front door too, like a little bell.
Is your surveillance camera going to cover the back door?
It will, yep. It's going to, there. It'll be set up like the round one will be right there with access to all four of those areas.
Sounds like maybe with the surveillance, the lock on the liquor cabinet, and
Be like an alcohol prison.
a little tray. Yeah, lockdown.
Be the most hardcore
Terrible place
liquor
to
in
be
town.
prison.
I think one of the
4 IDs
reasons-
to drink.
One of the reasons the members keep coming back to that question is because you're small and because you don't have a lot of liquor, you're not going to go through the extreme measures that someone who had $5,000 worth of hard liquor in their store would do. You still have to make provision for protecting what alcohol you have there.
Right. I agree. I'm in full agreement with that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
I have no questions.
I'm going to make a motion that the public hearing be closed and a resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants the Chocolate Therapist, Inc., doing business as the Chocolate Therapist, 2560 West Main Street, Suite 100, Littleton, Colorado, a beer and wine liquor license contingent upon approval from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division, and based upon the following findings of fact. 1, that the needs of the neighborhood are not now being met, and 2, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Rochelle, would you poll the authority, please?
Authority Member Bradish?
Yes.
Authority Member Gunia?
Yes.
Authority Member Odell?
Yes.
Authority Member Cole?
Yes.
Authority Member Mather?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We did not make it a stipulation that you have to have the training, but it is strongly suggested.
And I think it's fair to say if you would appear before us in the future, that's one of the first things we'd ask you about that training. Back to the agenda. It would appear that the next item would be general business. Item number 15, discussion of the new liquor licensing, or the licensing authority guidelines. I'm assuming the city attorney would like to make a presentation or a statement on that.
Yeah, so as you know, when the city council got seated, we did a pretty rigorous multi-session training. In that training, we had the Sursa General Counsel, Tammy Tanui, come in and give a legal liability training that I think the city council unanimously felt was very, very positive to moving forward in a really good direction here at the City of Littleton. We also worked with the City Council to establish goals and objectives for 2012, and if you look up on the wall here, they've been nicely framed, and it's just a good reminder of what they hope to accomplish in the next year. And we want to now work on the boards and commissions and really go back and take a very intentional look at your role as citizens. It's a highly important integral part of the governance here. The City Council is striving to become very strong policymakers, and we want the boards to become very strong advisory bodies. And as you know, you are not only advisory in some capacity, but also you perform a very unique function as quasi-judicial hearing officers. In other words, you're judges. Just like tonight, you're looking at the criteria. These are really important jobs that you have. I know that there was some resistance to the new guidelines that are here on general business tonight, but we went from absolutely no guidelines, and now we have something. And I think that the something is definitely going to be more positive in the end than having nothing. Most of it is based on state law. There's not a lot of it that's very different. Some of it you all specifically requested. And then our charter requires that City Council set the rules for their boards. And that really hadn't been done across all of our boards, you know, like Planning Commission, Historic Preservation Board. And so we're going to go back and take a look at everyone's rules. What you'll see in the next couple months is these guidelines, which we'll talk a little bit about tonight. We're going to have a mandatory training, and I think we've established May 9th as the date, but we'll follow up with something nailed down in writing to all of you. And on May 9th, we're going to have Sursa General Counsel come out. I think you will find her absolutely amazing. I will be there also, but I have never seen somebody that is so in tune with what it is like to be in your role and yet know what the liability implications are if you're not functioning within the realm of your authority. And so then in conjunction with that, we're going to have a new board and commission handbook. We've really eliminated a lot of what was in the old handbook, and we have some new, and that will be disseminated at the time of the training, and you will have an opportunity. We will send it to General Counsel of Sursa for her to review and be prepared to answer any questions about the new handbook. I also will send her, or I have already sent her, these guidelines, so she'll be prepared to answer any questions. She served not only as staff attorney at the Colorado Municipal League for years, but also was a city attorney, I believe, in Wheat Ridge. And one of her main functions for years was liquor licensing. So she's intimately familiar with this sort of body. And then with respect to the specific guidelines, again, I think we'll save it for a lot of your questions for the training, and I'm happy to get into it a little bit tonight, but this wasn't intended to be a full training tonight. But you'll see the order of business did change. That was One, Chairman Bradish did want to get the, I think, agenda before the minutes, so that was at your request. And then Council Member Taylor felt that we should break this up into, even though we have the same sort of hearings for liquor and marijuana, he believed it was better to put liquor in one category and then medical marijuana in another. So that's what got approved when it went to council. I don't believe there's much change in new licenses or renewals. Nothing's really changed with the process of violations, other than we did propose this intervening step of the preliminary hearing, where the city prosecutor would then be prepared to present a proposed recommendation. It will not happen in every case, but we have, upon recommendation of council, agreed that we would track when these cases went 3 months, and also whether there's any negative impact to adding that additional step. Then the other thing was, in 2011, council had adopted the ordinance that granted you authority to impose fines in lieu of suspension. That is something that maybe philosophically some of you may not like. However, keep in mind that the applicant has to petition for that. So it's something they're agreeing to in the first. And then we've got the penalty guidelines, and you, as the authority, always will retain the discretion as to the penalty you impose. You either will be faced with a proposal from the city prosecutor, and you may think that that's appropriate, and you may accept that at the preliminary hearing stage, or at the end of the day, you may decide to exercise your discretion depending on the specific facts of the case that you're presented with and go a different route. So at the end of the day, you will always retain that discretion of the penalty that should be imposed. But what this is going to help with is precedent, so you can look back and say, what did we do in a similar case? And it will also put you on notice that when the city prosecutor brings a case forward, she's either going to recommend something within these penalty guidelines or have a reason why she's deviated, and there might be mitigating, aggravating circumstances that would warrant something else, and she would be required to articulate that at the time she presents the proposed stipulation. And I think that the one thing that we don't have a lot, the liquor penalty guidelines, we've looked at a lot of jurisdictions, and we've done what's similar to numerous jurisdictions. When it comes to medical marijuana, we have a lot of uniqueness here. We're unique in that we were the first to adopt regulations. We are unique in that we're one of the few that runs it through the authority. A lot of jurisdictions are just doing this administratively, and we're probably unique in setting penalty guidelines. But I believe that these are reasonable and workable, good solutions, and we haven't seen any penalties imposed yet. So that will be something that we may want to reevaluate at some point in time. So with that, if you have questions that you just want to get answered tonight, both the city prosecutor and I are prepared to answer questions. Or if you want to take this document and study it and then come prepared for the training, I think you'll be very pleased to hear it from someone outside the cities. An objective person would probably be good.
I don't have any questions.
Anybody else? Okay.
No questions.
Thank you for your work
Okay.
on this.
No questions, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me approach a couple of things, if I may. You mentioned medical marijuana, and recently in the news, Candlemart over to Arapahoe and Broadway was, I guess somebody backed a truck into it and everything.
That's right.
But what is the status of their license?
Well, they are not licensed by the state, and they are not licensed by us, and there is litigation pending. I can tell you that we just very recently received news that we are, that they had appealed under what's called Rule 106 to say that they were entitled to a license, and the court did not rule in their favor. So, but that is a very recent development, and now they have a right to appeal that, and so the litigation is still ongoing, but should be resolved very soon.
So the unintended consequence of that is they can't have a violation that would come before this authority because they're not licensed by the city of Littleton. Isn't that correct?
That's right, but they could certainly be in violation of other ordinances of the city.
Right.
Another question, if I may. Status of the new movie theater down at Aspen Grove.
You know, I had the same question, and Mr. Cole as well, Authority Member Cole, sorry, also had the question, and I think they are moving forward. Is that right, Rochelle? Do you have any additional information? We'll look into that and be prepared to bring that back to you. I know we're eager to see it open.
I haven't heard anything one way or the other about anything being delayed, other than that they had to tear it down and start from fresh. That's all.
I've seen that they tore it down and the ground is bare and there's a big fence around it.
Right. I had the same question, and we'll look into it, and if we have an update for you, we can send out an email to you all. As long as you don't have any.
A lot of people in the city have the same question because it's a business that's eagerly anticipated.
I know.
And
very much looking forward to having them here.
I assume we'd know if something negative happened and it weren't going to happen.
It's been approved by both the city and the state. It's just waiting to be ready to open.
I do have come to think of one additional question because I have not had time to go over the guidelines as close as possible. I'll say approximately a year ago, new procedure was introduced to the authority in which it was explained to the authority that there, in show cause hearings or stipulations, whatever, there were definitely situations coming before the authority where the licensee had an attorney representing them, and it was equivalent to a defense counsel. And that the city had the city prosecutor who was the equivalent, or exactly a prosecutor. In both cases, those attorneys have prejudices. The prosecuting attorney to prosecute and get a conviction, or the end results that perhaps they stipulated to, and obviously the attorney for the licensee to operate to the best interests of his client. In addition to that, it was explained to us about the time that Mr. Katz left that it was advisable that the authority also have a attorney that was neither prosecuting nor defense in order to render neutral, non-prejudiced legal advice to this authority in regards to the law and legal procedure. I was disappointed in December that we were dependent upon the counsel, although I'm sure excellent, of the prosecuting attorney in the place of our neutral counsel to advise us. We had the city manager sitting where he normally does, but it was city manager was here explaining to the authority. In my experience, which is limited, but I think goes beyond that of a normal citizen, I worked my way through college as a clerk in the Denver District Court. We were schooled very carefully so that we did not end up giving advice that was correct and we were very familiar with, but nonetheless qualified as practicing law. There were some statements that I was disturbed about last time because in my experience as a clerk in the Denver District Court, I would have been called before the clerk and I would have been severely reprimanded. So I hope in the future, if and I cannot tell from this document, that we are going to have that neutral counsel, that neutral counsel is present.
Yeah, and generally speaking, that will be the case. I think with that particular situation was a proposed stipulation where we had done memos and were strategically not wanting to get into the legal issues before the applicant. But generally speaking, you are correct. If it's a show cause, we're not going to have two attorneys here every single time. But generally speaking, in a show cause setting, we would have your legal advisor and the city prosecutor. So that's right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll ask one other question. We have a medical marijuana center change of corporate structure for the Blue Sky Care connection. Do you know off the top of your head what that corporate structure change is?
Was another person coming into the business.
Or just adding a person? Thank you.
I said before, I have no questions.
Okay. I think just all on staff. Thank you very much. I am very sad for our loss of Susan Price. I know she was a very valuable member, so I do think if you hang with us, we will really do good things here. So thanks so much for your participation.
Thank you.
I see this as a valuable tool. We may have problems with parts of it, but to have it all written in one place, I think, is a big help to us. And
That's what it's
I appreciate
intended to do. So,
Do you know, is the council in the process of selecting new board members? And
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any idea on when?
well, they have additional board interviews
Next Thursday.
next Thursday.
Next Tuesday or Wednesday that they will be doing the appointments because they have to be appointed before April 1st.
Okay, great.
Yeah, March 27th, I want to say. March 27th, I think, is when they'll start to make their appointments.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16, reports. Have anything from the staff, including the police department, Lieutenant Kerber? Rochelle, do you have anything? The chairman has nothing. Anyone else on the authority have any business?
Let's go home.
Go get some
We have a
chocolate
motion
and
to
wine.
adjourn. This meeting is adjourned.